All right, let's revisit some of the pros and cons of the Tampa, Florida area, because after being here for a few years, some of my thoughts have changed. I'm Sam, and thanks for coming by the Living in Tampa channel, where we make videos for you about what it's like to live and move to the Tampa area. If you are considering living or moving in this area, we want to hear from you. We are a team of realtors here in the area, and we'd love to help you buy, sell real estate, anything like that. So call, text, email, anytime. So right now is March 2023. I moved here in May 2020. After being here a few years, some of my opinions have matured, changed. I don't know, some of the things you just get used to, some of the things you don't get used to, so I want to revisit these pros and cons now. And let's start with pro number one. Right now I'm in a neighborhood in Palm Harbor, right on Lake Tarpon, called Cobb's Landing. Pro number one is housing options. As I drove into this neighborhood, I drove through a retirement community that had apartments and villas and houses. And then here in Cobb's Landing, these are like big houses on the lake. Not all of them are right on the lake, but they have access to the lake really easily. And this is that giant Lake Tarpon that we talk about sometimes. But just driving through a mile of neighborhoods showed me just the intense diversity of housing available. And whether you're renting or buying, there is a whole spectrum. So our average home price right now in this county, in Pinellas County, is like $400,000. It's a little bit lower for like the whole Tampa area. When I moved here though, it was like $270,000. So it's gone up so much, but there is still a big spectrum of different kinds of houses available, from little houses, little old houses that need fixed up, to brand new, super modern houses, and apartments and condos and everything in between. So that was number one pro, the housing options. Number two pro is this idea I've been thinking and talking about lately, the layers of Tampa. Tampa has really cool layers. It has the city. It's a pretty big city. It's not like some like crazy big city, but it has the amenities of a city, the shopping, the food is coming along, the international airport, that kind of stuff. And then it has suburbs, all kinds of suburbs, master plan communities, kind of older suburbs, everything in between. And then it has the beaches. So we'll call that amusement. That's the natural amusement, is the beaches. And then there's man-made amusement as well. So these layers of Tampa are amazing. And if you've missed the video comparing Tampa and Orlando, we kind of compared these layers of city, suburbs, and amusement. And Tampa just wins on that. Tampa has this vibe. Tampa has this balance that you'll really like, of city, suburbs, and nature. Okay, pro number three, travel options. I mentioned the international airport previously. I used to travel a lot for a different job. So I would go to about 10 international destinations a year for work. And I traveled out of the Denver airport for most of that. I got really used to the Denver airport. I'm perfectly fine with it. There is a huge bird in that tree. I don't know what it is. Something with a really long, skinny beak. So I got really used to the Denver airport. I was fine traveling in and out of there. Now I've traveled back there a little bit and I realized how slow that airport is, even if you have like TSA pre-check, all those things. Because whenever I left Tampa to go to Denver, I parked my car in the garage and it took me about 20 minutes to get all the way to my gate. So that you go into the airport, you know, you can check in, you can check your bag. I wasn't doing any of that. I was carrying on my bag. I had my boarding pass on my phone. I went right to Terminal A. You scan your boarding pass, you get on the little train, it takes you out to the terminal, then you go through security out there. That's one of the things that makes the Tampa airport really fast. I love the Tampa airport. Once you're out there, there's like 20 gates out there. So in Denver, you have these long stretches of like 60 gates per terminal. Tampa just breaks that out a little bit more, and it just works really well. And of course, there's probably less traffic at Tampa airport overall. And when I say it's an international airport, they have a few international flights. I think they added a Lufthansa flight to Frankfurt recently. Of course, they've got like Mexico and Caribbean and Canadian flights that make it international, but that Frankfurt flight, that's a game changer. And I think they added a London flight recently too. But anyway, the travel options, the airport is a big part of that. But then also, Tampa is a big port for cruise ships. So cruise ships come right into downtown, can take off down into the Caribbean from there, or to Mexico, or all kinds of destinations like that. So not only traveling by air, but traveling by sea as well is also a good option here in Tampa. Okay, number 4 pro. Of course, Florida has become more conservative during the pandemic. During this time, I've lived here since 2020 to now 2023. Florida has become more conservative, but it still has pretty liberal cities. So Tampa's pretty liberal. St. Petersburg is pretty liberal. Then there's other spots, even in these areas like Dunedin, that are pretty liberal. Then it's surrounded by pretty conservative pretty conservative suburbs and rural areas. And there's something about that balance that I really like. To have a liberal progressive city and then to have these conservative outskirts. And of course, the population overall still leans pretty conservative. I heard someone say the other day that an argument is most effective when the counter arguments are presented as well. And I feel like that kind of tug and war of the political leanings in the area just creates something kind of unique. Okay, now let's get into some of the cons. Some of my cons have not changed, and I don't think they ever will. Con number 1 being bugs. As I walked into this park, there was like flies, some kind of fly. I don't know what they are. They haven't bit me yet. That just flew up everywhere. And it's just that time of the year where bugs start biting, here in March. Specifically right now, it's the no-see-ums, which you're probably familiar with. It's a type of gnat. And they call them no-see-ums because you can't really see them. But they just bite my ankles like crazy, like right at sunset. If we're out on a walk or something, I just get devoured. So it's just coming to this time of year where it's really nice outside, but I pay for it just by getting eaten alive. And yeah, I could wear bug spray. There's all kinds of devices that people recommend or remedies, home remedies that people recommend. But it's just something else to think about. That's kind of the negative of it, is it's something else to think about. And that goes along with pest control at your home. So we pay for like a pest control service to come spray. They don't put like granules in our yard because we have chickens and the chickens eat them and it could really kill the chickens, really hurt the chickens. And then they wouldn't lay our eggs and that would be a whole problem, right? So we gotta protect the chickens. We can't go all out. So we still have some ants in the yard, like normal, some spiders. But right now we still see the occasional cockroach. Even though we pay for the service, I need to call them and have them come back out and do a little bit more spraying just to make sure all the cockroaches die, even if they do come in. We have an old house, so we can't really seal all of them out. But that's just something you have to deal with. It's not that big of a deal, but it's just something that you have to keep dealing with. Even though bugs overall is a con, one of the things that people often ask about is gators and snakes. They're really not an issue. It's not gonna be something that you think about when you're here. You'll notice gators occasionally, you'll even notice snakes occasionally, but like in our yard, my wife says she's seen a few snakes, but they're a type of snake called a black racer, which is pretty much just like a garter snake. They flee from you. Of course, we have water moccasins and cottonmouths and all those kind of things too, but they're just not around. It's not like they're in all the neighborhood ponds or the drainage ditches or things like that. You won't really notice it. You won't think about it that much when you move here. Okay, the next con is the heat. Now, of course, if you're moving to Florida, you're ready for that, or you think you're ready for it. It's still just a thing you have to think about. And I'm kind of in and out a lot with work, so I'm constantly thinking like, am I gonna get hot and sweaty? Or am I gonna be inside all day and I'm gonna be cold? I mean, it sounds like such a first world problem, I get it. But it is just something you do have to think about because the difference between the indoor temperature and outdoor temperature during the summer is so dramatic here. So my family's often taking jackets to the grocery store, and a lot of people do that kind of thing here. Or like whether it's your church or you're going to see a movie or whatever it is, it's gonna be really cold inside in the summer, and then when you get out, it's just like sweating automatically. Okay, and then the last con for today, this is something I didn't think about so much before I moved here, but something that I noticed so much now that I live here. The tourism inflow. So the town I live in, Tarpon Springs, is a small town. Here, linked up above are some of the videos we've made recently about Tarpon Springs. And the thing about Tarpon Springs is it has this little kind of touristy, kitschy area called the Sponge Docks. We talked about it previously. It's kind of cool, actually. But on the weekends and during the summers and during spring break and those kind of times, there's this sudden influx of traffic to this small town. And when I first moved there, I was so confused why suddenly there were all these people there for nothing. I didn't really understand what they were there for, because the sponge docks just doesn't seem that significant to me. I realized that they like it. It's an interesting thing to come see, and that's just something you have to get used to. These certain times that you avoid going to beaches, or you avoid going to the areas that other people view as tourist attractions. Overall, the whole state is kind of a tourist attraction in a lot of ways, and you get used to it. You kind of figure out how that relates with your schedule and with your home. After living here a few years, I wanted to update these pros and cons to let you know kind of my take on what it feels like. As always, we do want to hear from you, so call, text, email anytime. We'd love to help you buy and sell real estate, but also just help you process the move. Even if you're far out, we still want to be involved in that process with you. Give us a call or send us an email. We can set up a Zoom call, sit down, and really give you some time to help you process everything that might be going on related to your move, your departure, and your arrival. And as always, thanks for coming by.